Huh?
Yep.
Can you see that?
I don't want to order a seat down.
Can you see the screen?
One in the extra.
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
This is for the extra.
Okay.
Yeah, archives, yeah.
Good. Well, there we are. Well, this first rendering is just to show basically the massing of the 6-unit townhouse. We'll be talking about the colored palettes a little bit later. And let's see, this one is from the west. So this shows the courtyard. In between and in the back, against the lane, is a green roof. Now, we've designed something that has, design features of character homes, and it reinforces a residential feel. Okay. Context, yeah. So we got there's the site there, and to the existing adjacent house is where we show there, and in front you'll see that there's quite a bit. There's a nice garden area, which was very nice. Might have come down, but still nice. And just to show you that there was towards the corner of Medea and Hackett is a seniors building, and right beside it is the three-unit townhouse or apartments, and you see that it's quite close to the property line. And so we basically use that as an impetus to, contain the streetscape, which I think really works for us because we like to get into having a nice courtyard and stuff. So, and then the rear is ugly against the lane, and okay, so we'll go to. Okay, so you can see going from the street, Medea, there's quite a big area in terms of the boulevard, which is about 24 feet approximately. And so that we felt that, having the buildings close to the property line is probably would be not too bad because the street edge is so far away. And also the neighboring building is, basically, I think it's the porches go into this city space. That's the porch, yeah. The stairs going up to the second floor. Right? Okay, and so we've got 3 separate entrances, 2 front doors showing there, and a walkway going up front to back, and you can see that there's 3 large car parking and 3 small car parking that have green roofs on them, and that would be variances that we can speak to. And then there's a large car and a small car as between there and the sidewalk. The landscape courtyard's there. It's about 28 foot 9. 29 foot 8. 29 foot 8. Okay, 30 feet. And oh yeah, and the lighting, we're just going to do lighting while we're at the site plan. We have 3-foot bollards spaced down our side of the walkway, and all the rest of the lighting is in the carports, under the carport, and in lighting the entrances are lit on either one, and the rear patios also have soffit lighting. Yeah, this section shows basically there's a slope that looks, we thought it was flat when we first looked at the site, but it's actually pretty close to 5 feet, 5.5 feet from front to back. So there's the green roof carport, and then this side elevation shows the garbage area and recycling. And that will have, you'll see the floor plan, we'll have some gates and a roof on top of that. Next. Yeah, so these units are they're fairly small. They're 950 square feet. And it's affordable housing. And, we got 2 bedrooms, den, 1 bedroom den sort of thing. So they're reasonable in cost, and the amenities are pretty good. You see in the floor plan that we've got the garbages are shown there. Recycling and place for bikes, and mechanical electrical on that side as well. Patios facing the courtyard. Okay.
So here's the elevations, and I'll speak a little bit about the cladding. So the concept is for within each triplex to have a feeling of individuality between the units, so that it's not we're a number, but we're the end unit with the beige door, or we've got the shingles on top and the dark green door, that sort of thing. And also the 2 triplexes are also different from one another. Again, just trying to make it, instead of feeling institutional, but feel more like the old city, where everybody has their own cladding and their own kind of look. The cladding is vinyl, but it's a premier vinyl, and we've changed the profile, so we have the shingle siding and board and batten profile in different colors, as well as horizontal. And then there are wood barge boards, trim around the windows, brackets at the roofs over the patio doors, and brackets over the roof at the front door. What's giving some continuity to the 2 buildings is they both have this beige tone vinyl, and they have sort of a more cedar tone shingle. So that's common to both buildings. And then what's different in the 2 buildings is the one has a deeper green and a light green cladding, and you'll see in a minute the other one has a blue and then a cool gray cladding together with the other 2. I think that's it.
This is the plans showing the rear of the building facing the courtyard, and also the front entrances, that's towards Medea.
So utilities at the end of the building, they're similar on the two. So the previous building has close to the parking area the garbage and recycling facility, and it has a large storage room as well as mechanical, electrical. And then this building has 4 storage areas as well as mechanical, electrical, and a space for the guest bicycles also undercover, so it's under the roof. And the buildings they're pretty much the same, but they mirror and flip, so they're not exactly the same, the way they present on the site. And so here's the elevation of the blue scheme. So you can see this is the same cladding that's on the same shingles on the green building. And then this one has the blue and the cooler gray. But we're still in keeping with having the units have some individualization. And also, back to we can look at it in the game if you like, but on the rendering you can see, even from the west side, that the one building has the 2 different colors in cladding and the other building is all one color. So going to having the buildings feel like they have a bit of an identity of their own. So then I think that for speaking to the variances, we're going to go back to the site plan, I think, for that.
So the variances, the coverage is an obvious one. We're over by 3.4%, but that is because we have the carports. We felt that having the green roofs would add the overall project, and having,
it's good for water management, so there's more permeability.
Yeah.
So really, if you look at the buildings, the coverage of the buildings themselves is well under the coverage. And we sort of feel that if you took what we're over by a small percentage, if you took those carports away, you would be left with just an asphalt parking lot. So the green roof actually mitigates against water, because the water is going to be absorbed into the plant material better than on the asphalt.
And okay, we should probably talk about the parking development.
So in this, the Nanaimo now has the new parking areas, and so it's always interesting when you fall on the boundary between one area and another area. So the area we find ourselves in requires 9 parking spots. One lot over it would require 7 parking spots. In any event, we're hoping that you'll support a 1-stall reduction, given the location of this site. We're close to the central hub, so 600 meters within from the hub, and very close to where we're in the 200-meter buffer of the hub.
Easy access to transit as well.
Yeah, easy access to transit, where the site is bikeable to services and shops. And the biking requirement or bicycle requirement for long-term bikes is to provide for 3. We actually have 5 storage containers which would hold up to 10 bicycles. So
then we also have 2 visitor parking that's also can be undercover.
The bicycle. Yeah. So that's the rationale for 8 as opposed to 9. And the rationale for the mix, we have 50-50 instead of 60-40. Again, they're small units, affordable housing. They're in the downtown area. Probably most of the residents are going to be going towards the trend of smaller cars. So again, that's the rationale.
We have also, like, the big issue is the front yard setback, which is basically 6 meters to 1.4 meters, which is a lot. But the rationale that I gave earlier was that we're just containing the streetscape, and because of the apartment next door is actually over into the front yard area, and so you've seen that.
We have this the big boulevard.
The boulevard, yeah.
On the rationale is we're trying to make sure that there is some courtyard between the two buildings.
Yeah. And the rear setback is the post for the carports. There's 2 posts that are in the setback.
Yeah, and again, the carports, as you saw in the section, they're pretty transparent. So really, they're introducing green material and an open structure. It's not really a massing at the back. And we really feel that it's an amenity to the neighborhood. Driving down that laneway, if the carports weren't there, you would just have the asphalt paving. So they really add to the flavor of the neighborhood. They soften it.
So go to maybe Corinne.
Oh yes, so Corinne. You ready, Corinne?
I just had to unmute myself.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. So now we're looking at the landscape plan. Actually, if you want to bring that back to,
I don't know what we did.
right now, see, yeah. If it's possible to bring it back, it'll be easier if you can see it all in where it builds up the whole screen. But anyway, I'll just speak to it as we go. So we've used 100% native plants for the landscape, which has been very popular request. So as you can imagine, incorporating native plants is going to be good for so many reasons. The plants, of course, we know are going to survive and do well in our area, and will be less dependent on water once they become established. Generally speaking, it takes about 2 years for plant material to become well-rooted enough that it will no longer need additional water, sometimes in the 3rd year. I do recommend during drought periods to give it additional water. But once the landscape is well established, then no additional water would be required. Even the rooftop gardens, we've used all native perennials. And so that'll be just a shallower growing medium, but it will still hold and retain water. And they're drought-tolerant plants that are on the car park, the parkade. And we have one area of grass in the center, which we're using as a common area for people to be able to meet. I wanted to leave that open so people could maybe play catch, maybe do some bocce ball, kind of create a bit of a community space there instead of, fencing it and everybody has their own little tiny yard. So I just thought this would be a really great place for people to get together. But on the same time, we did create some privacy as well by using a little bit of plant material to actually screen the patios. So if you're sitting on your patio, you're not wide open to the next building. So it's just if you come into the grass area, then that everybody can congregate and hopefully, have fun together. And the other thing is the grass seed blend that I've chosen for the lawn areas is a mix of about 5 different fescue blends. There's no Kentucky bluegrass, there's no perennial ryegrass in this mix. And the advantage to that is with 100% fescue blend, the roots are deeper, so the grass blend requires a lot less water once it's established, and you don't require as much fertilizer. And the other benefit with that blend is that it's actually very short. It doesn't grow as tall as traditional lawns. It'll actually only grow to about 6 inches, so it's way less maintenance. If you wanted to, like on the boulevard, you could actually leave it unmown for a natural carpet effect. But of course it can be mown as well. Total to get that full screen, but again, maybe try hitting the button and put it back onto presentation mode, if that's possible.
We're trying.
Okay, just so everyone can see it a little bit better.
Sorry, just hang on. If I exit full screen and then, I don't know, and then go back.
Yeah, maybe try that. Or go back to your slideshow. Yeah. You might want to click on your slideshow.
You know, there's something at I don't know why it's gone to, it says single page, so I don't know why it's doing that.
Okay. Wait. Had it at first.
I don't know.
I'm not sure why we lost it.
Try scrolling down that last panel and click on the particular slide that you want. Just try that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Like that.
The group.
Yeah.
Still the group, though.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Don't know why that's happened, but I'm presuming that everybody at City Hall there does have printed copies of the plans anyway that they can look at. So let me just take a close look at my own screen here so I can see what I've done. Yeah, so we are providing fencing as well on, I believe, just the one side, as there is existing fencing already on, I believe it's the west side that has existing fencing. So we are proposing a new fence on the east side, as well as you'll notice I have left maintenance paths on the sides of the building in other words, I don't want any plant material going right up against the building. Just makes it easier for maintenance and prevents bugs getting up near the building. So there's no soil anywhere against the building. All the plant material is kept away. And yeah, so we have a fair bit of grass on the boulevard side, as well as, you know, a series of smaller trees. I did go with the smaller native trees, just because it is a small lot. We couldn't use any of the larger native trees. That's why there's no conifers as well, because our native conifers would be too big for this site. So, let's see, what else is... We've got gravel on the lane as well, as a buffer in between, oh there we go, in between the lanes there's a gravel buffer between the parking. And the rest is, yeah, we've got plants all the way, it's as thick as we could put them, so it's going to be, you know, quite heavily planted, and then the rest of it is mostly just grass. And then of course the patio spaces are concrete, so each unit has their own private patio. So I think that's the only thing I need to say, unless anyone has any questions.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Corinne, can you just state your name so we can get it on the minutes?
Yeah, it's Corinne Matheson with Mystic Woods Landscape Design.
Okay, I will open it up for questions and comments, and I guess my first question to the panel members, does anybody have any questions for staff? That's a big no.
Could you give Jerry just...
oh yeah, and Jerry, could you stop sharing your screen, please? And then we'll be able to see everybody. There we go.
There we go. Yes. Yay.
Okay, so I would like to open it up for comments, questions from the panel members in no particular order. I'm going to start with Kate.
Okay, I just had to unmute myself. Thank you, all of you, for your presentation today. I'm the landscape architect on the design panel, for those of you who don't know me. And I thought maybe I will really enjoy what you've done with the home site and getting 6 units in there and keeping them within the character of what we kind of consider the old city quarter to feel like, I guess. And I really value your attention to the cladding. I think that stands out as a positive on this design. But I don't want to talk too much about architecture. I'll let the other folks on the panel. I think I'll just speak more specifically to the landscape plan, and then maybe I'll circle back to some other comments later. But I really appreciate and value your efforts to use all Indigenous plants. I think, though, it's okay, from my personal opinion and from the experience of how plants do in our urban environment, to have other compatible ornamentals. I don't find that an issue, especially if you want to introduce more evergreen species into a site. We have really nice dwarf spruce. They're not from here, but they're not from far away. I am interested in the fact that you're not putting in irrigation, and that could be an issue with the city for that boulevard. They may want that to be irrigated, given it's city boulevard. Also, I just want to draw attention to the tree species that you selected that are going to be in that boulevard, the Acer circinatum. That I think it's a little bit risky using that species. As you know, it doesn't really grow on Vancouver Island. It's very hard to find. It's more of a lower mainland. And it doesn't do as well in droughty conditions. It does need to get irrigated, in my experience. So I would leave it up to the landscape architect to make a decision about that, but I would consider thinking of something else. And so maybe you may not put in indigenous deciduous tree, but maybe something that complements the planting palette. And so other than that, I really value that you've created this nice courtyard space for the residents, and I think you're right to just leave it open, aside from the smaller plantings around the back courtyard, but leaving that central piece open so that the use can be less specific and a more open-ended type of opportunity for the residents in that grassy area. And that you've included, and my last comment that I really wanted to point out was, I'm really happy to see the carports and the green roofs on the carport, and that you've used plants that we can see. So you haven't just left it as a sedum carpet, that you have some nice perennials that we're going to see, and I think that's wonderful. And overall, I'm really happy that you've chosen to do an indigenous planting palette, but I encourage you to add other plants if you see that they're going to do better or for you. That's all I'm going to say right now. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll respond to that. So the owner, it was actually his idea to use all indigenous plants, because a lot of times I use a mix. As you mentioned, I will use some native plants, incorporate non-native plants as well. But yeah, it was actually the owner's request to do that, so I thought great, because it's hard sometimes to get people on board with that. And then it was also his request not to use irrigation. And that was one of the reasons why I chosen the fescue blend, because once it is established, it really shouldn't need any water. Personally, I have 6 acres myself and horses, and I have huge grass fields, and as long as the soil has enough organic matter in it, I don't water any of my fields, and they stay green year round. So I think as long as the soil is done properly with enough organic matter, that initially, yes, of course there is going to need to be water, and so there's going to have to be a water plan put in place specifically for the first 2 years until everything gets developed. But I think it would be fantastic if, you know, it doesn't require water once the plan is, or the whole plants and the lawns become established. Other than obviously during periods of drought, you know, maybe once every 2 weeks, somebody might have to do some watering. And I do believe, Jerry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe each unit has been provided with hose bits front and back for purposes of watering. Is that correct? Okay. And then as far as the vine maples go, we actually have quite a lot here in Campbell River. We planted our local museum with all indigenous plants, and I actually took some pictures of them last year, and they're doing really, really well. Here, mind you, it rains a lot more up here, perhaps. So, but I would certainly look at maybe. Yes, probably. I would certainly look at using an indigenous maple or maybe even a Douglas maple. That's something we can certainly look into if that seems to be a concern.
Yeah, and your examples, were they irrigated?
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, likely. And we are drier. We are in the rain shadow, and you're not up there in Campbell River. So yeah, it is drier here, and we just haven't seen them do very well unless they're irrigated, and they're a little more a little shadier situation. So you don't like to see trees fail. That's all. Yeah, and
no.
Yeah. And I appreciate that the owners.
No, I agree, and that's totally. Yeah. So anyway, we can totally look at finding a more suitable tree if you have more experience obviously in the Nanaimo area than I do.
Yeah, it is just a little different. Great, thank you. One other point too, with here in Nanaimo, I don't know about Campbell River, but we are starting to consider looking at water for 3 years. Just finding with the drought that for establishment, we're moving into 3 years. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Kate. I'm going to go diagonal on the screen, and I'm going to Steve.
There we go. Everybody hear me?
Yep.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for the presentation. I did have a few questions. One in regards to the lane direction. It's only going the one way. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. From Hackett Street to, was that Pine? No. Anyway, it's from Hackett up.
Okay, all right. The reason why I was asking is just that access point going one way, and then the parking going into the parking area. You're kind of doing a 3-point parking to get around that corner, and I would be a little worried about smash and bang for that parking.
One of if you're talking about the image on my screen there that had, that was a fire truck.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's tight quarters regardless, and this is the place where we want to have that density, and as well, then the rules, I think, makes sense in this case. The other question was in regards to the parking on Medea. Is there, I went by there, drove by there, there was a little bit of street parking, but not that much. Is that pretty common in that area?
Yeah, in actual fact, we did go to the engineering department, City of Nanaimo, and request sort of taking up some of the roadway with some parking, and they negated that. So that was a no-go.
Yeah, that's kind of to be expected, I think. Okay, I don't have an issue with the parking and the small, well, I guess we'll talk about that later. The project and the colors and all the look of the project is quite nice, especially in light of what it is right now. And the more infill projects like this, the better the city's going to be, and this downtown core, even though it is just kind of outside, right? But I like the project. You know, it's definitely worth it for the city, and I applaud the work that you guys have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Marie.
Okay, thanks for the presentation, guys. Yeah, I think the form and character fit really well into that area and that site. It's a very transitional neighborhood that's probably going to shift and change over the years, but it kind of sets a nice tone in there. I like the way you've designed the two separate buildings with the courtyard in between. And I guess the only things I would want to comment on is the garage. I like the fact that you put a garage in there. A lot of developments don't bother and just put a carport. But is there anything you're doing to that structure to sort of make it a little bit more attractive? As it looked on the plans just like some poles and some girders holding up a roof. I'm thinking of the people living in those units on that side, they're going to be looking out at that garage. So that's going to be kind of their primary view. And I think your green roof resolved some of that problem, at least for the upper story, because they're going to look down on a green roof instead of a black tar roof or something. So what about the posts or the structure of it? Is there anything you're doing to sort of make them a little bit more attractive?
Not at this point. We could have just on one side, on either side at the ends, you could have a little bit of trellis work or something to, you know, enclose it, you know, on the sides.
Yeah, so the unit spacing, that might have a little bit different view, but I mean, either way, they're going to look at a park, without the carport, they're going to look at a parking lot too, so it's just a thought. And the other thought I have, I was wondering about the sidewalk along
Douglas, I think you have to turn your microphone up, perhaps.
Or turn it up. Okay.
Oh, there you are.
It's Ken Riddell here. Given this area, there's a lot of homeless in that area. It's a consistent problem. And there's concern about parking off the alley because the alley is already experiencing, the neighbors along there, a lot of difficulties with cars being broke into and other problems happening in the alley. We felt it was important that we not block the lines of view towards where the parking is, simply as a matter of security.
Well, that's a good point. And actually, my second comment was going to be about the sidewalk that runs from Medea to the laneway. Are you going to have a gate closing that off?
Yes, we're typically on what we're doing is doing lockable gates.
Yeah, because I think they're going to run into problems with people using that as a cut through.
As a corridor, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so for the residents, it'll be common key. And, of course, all the units you could get to from the front or the rear anyway. So we will gate it for that reason to stop people from just using it as a pathway.
Yeah, no, I understand the security problems. That was one of my concerns too. And I can see you want to be able to look out there. There's some security in that. My other point was to talk about the garbage and recycling. I don't know if you thought about that. I see you have it down on the second building towards the laneway. And I know I live in a small strata building, and we have just like 2 garbage bins that are just roll out and 3 recycling bins, I think. And the company that we have contracted drives a very big truck to get those. So I'm wondering if the garbage is going to be picked up from Medea or from the back.
No, the access is from the back. The company that we're going to be using has small trucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they would wheel
Part of the job would be to wheel it out and pick it up. That's why it showed the turning radiuses for that small truck.
Yeah. Okay. No, just a thought, because I've tried even coming down our driveway, which is really narrow. I think we've kind of given up on that now and just drive down the street and wait there and empty this into the bin. So initially when we started, we had a company with small trucks, and then they switched. So yeah. And are you making any provisions for electric cars in your parking lot? I don't know if you have to do that per city rules.
Ken, is there any thought on that one?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Douglas here. As part of our bill, all of our development routes and so there would be six outlets there.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I think it's a good project for the area. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Next on my screen, I have Tony.
You hear me okay now?
Yep.
Okay, great. I too think this is a nice, compact, modest little project. I think there's been a lot of thought put into it. I particularly like the treatment of the individuality of the units in terms of colors and textures and so forth. I think that's very well done. I commend you on the green roof, which is totally unnecessary, but you know, completely sustainable gesture towards environmental responsibility. So good on you. I also like the front streetscape with the front doors coming off the public sidewalk. I don't personally have any issues with any of the variances. The only I guess, doubt or hope that I have is that center space works as intended. Because it's very, very small, it's very intimate, it's only 30 feet across, and if everybody gets along, it's going to be a wonderful communal opportunity. If, however, there's somebody who likes loud music or parties or there's any kind of problem, it's a complete disaster. And I honestly have my best hopes that it'll be the former rather than the latter, because frankly, I don't know what else you could possibly do short of getting rid of those two extra stalls that you have outside the covering, the carport, and moving the buildings further apart or flipping the back door over or something. But all I can do at this point is just hope for the best and wish you all the luck. But generally, I think it's a great little project.
The main driver, it's Ken Riddell here, the main driver of this project is that area. And given the bylaws we have to work with, extremely hard to accomplish. Very, very hard. Initially, we wanted to take some parking off of Medea. Haven't been able to do it larger than what it is now, but we couldn't. The reason for the variances is to try and create that large area. The target market for these units, with the pricing and sizing, etc., is very young families with one child just starting out, or a single mom with one or two kids. And that's who we see being in this development. And therefore, that center area is very important to the clientele we're looking at. And we hope it'll work well. We do not see singles in this project. It's a great location for kids. There's a lot of open area. Schools are fairly close. You can bike safely. So hopefully it's going to work.
So too.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. I would echo pretty much all the other remarks regarding the project and how well it's put together. I like the form and character of the building, the landscape concept, it works really well. The only concern I really have is the distance that the people are going to have to walk from the parking area to building number 2, especially unit number 6. So they're going to have to go all the way around to Medea Way and then to the front of the building, unless, and I would imagine some are probably going to do this, they're probably going to walk through the central courtyard area, and I think over time you're probably going to see the grass form pathways into the units. So I'm not sure if you studied that area and whether or not you have any concerns regarding that.
No, Korean community died in on this one. No.
I think Ken wants to answer that.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Medea, the property across from the Sacat Creek sits really close, and that property cannot be developed. And at any given time, there's a lot of available parking along Medea. And from I spend a lot of time in that area, and I really believe that the owners of those 3 units in the back will park on Medea. They will not use the back parking on a day-to-day basis. But we were forced to put the parking where it is. We had no other option. So, that being the case, as I said, I think most of the owners will be parking at least 1 car on a day-to-day basis on the deal, right across from them.
Okay. Next question: Did you look at any alternative layouts, Corinne, for the courtyard area? Something that could be maybe like, I think staff commented, or in the staff comments they commented on the maybe something a little bit more communal, or chairs and stuff like that, or benches. I was trying to get as much grass area as possible, just, if people happen to have little dogs, or if they wanted, I was thinking of, maybe being able to play catch. I'm assuming that there would be kids in here. So, and each, unit has their own patios, their own private space. So, I didn't really see a need for one big, patio space there. It would make it you wouldn't have any room left for grass. So it's kind of one or the other. You create, a large central gathering space out of concrete, or, you have that grass area, which I think is a little bit more usable. So, we did look at the thought of cutting it up and fencing it and making them private little yards. They would just be so small. So I really like the idea of trying to keep that as a communal space. So I really hope that it does work. So, there are, if you can look at the plan, there are, from the patio out to the grass area, I've used 2x2 concrete stepping stones to and then I used them very small because I just wanted a very small access. I wanted to try to create as much privacy on the patios as possible. Okay. Next one, Jerry, you did a really good job with incorporating steep roof lines, but I think in doing so, the gables now are going to be quite pronounced, even though some of them have Dutch roofs on them. And I think in the staff comments, they commented on the use of gable pediments or gable features to draw on the old city. Are you going to look into that?
I have to talk to Ken about it, but I can see having the central roof on both buildings having a little bit of detail, not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, it's not going to take much to even up for the peak of the gables, instead of gables
Cross-bracing supplement.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe consider that, because I think that would just jazz it up. It wouldn't be that expensive to do, but we normally buy them pre-manufactured too. So that's the only other comment I have. Other than that, a very good project. And Corrine, I really liked your coding system of how you code each picture with the symbol, and then it match it on the drawing. That works really, really well for us that are kind of landscape challenged. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, I like including pictures because I think it makes it a lot easier to sort of visualize what things look like for those that aren't familiar with especially the Latin plant names.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you very much. I have nothing else.
All right, thank you, Kevin. I actually don't have anything to add. Every panel member picked up the 2 or 3 things that I had written down, so I think I will just quickly, I just want to poll everybody. I have written down a bunch of comments, but I want to find out if you consider them just comments or recommendations. Kate, the one I flagged was your mention of using compatible ornamentals in addition to indigenous planting. Is that a strong recommendation or just a comment, or?
Just a comment that I appreciate people want to go full on indigenous plants, but climate's changing. This is not an indigenous landscape, it's an urban landscape, and sometimes other plants might be better, and it's just a comment.
Okay.
I'm okay, yeah.
And Steve, did you want to have any recommendation in there about strengthening the carport at the lane entry or anything like that?
No, I don't think there's a recommendation there. I'd be worried about those posts. That's all I'm worried about for you.
Okay. Marie, I think you got answers to everything that you were commenting on, so I don't have anything flagged as a recommendation. Is that?
Yeah, they were just questions and general comments. They can take it where they want. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Same with Tony. It was a "we hope it works" comment. And Kevin, gable detailing.
Yeah.
Sort of as per city comments.
Yeah. City comments, if you want to say that, gable detailing that complements the old city design guideline.
Okay. And anything else that you wanted to make as a recommendation?
Not for me.
Okay. Does anyone have any further comments or questions or anything about any of the variances?
I would comment that the front yard setback variance and the minimum landscape for the front, the rationale would be is there's a very long distance between the property line and the curb edge. So obviously that supports those two. I have no problem with lot coverage because of they've mentioned the rationale. There's the covering of the parking stall and putting a green roof on. And then the off-street parking, I don't have any issues with that either. So I probably support all 4 variances.
Okay. Anybody else have any variance discussion or questions? So what I have in front of me is the potential for a recommendation or a motion with 1 recommendation, which is to look at enhancing the gable detailing to complement the design, as per the Old City guidelines. Can I ask someone who does this really well?
Okay, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to accept the application as presented with support for the variances and with that recommendation.
Second.
Okay. And I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, I've got thumbs up. Yeah, there you go.
That's cool.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Good luck,
Thanks,
guys.
Tim.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, Craig.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, and panel members, did everybody have a chance to look through the minutes from our last meeting?
Yeah.
Did anybody have any comments or questions?
Nope, looks good.
I have one. It's minor, but it was moved and seconded that Charles Carroll be appointed chair for a one-year term. That actually can't happen because my term on design panel will end before the year is up. So I don't think it matters, but anyway, that's a minor point, but I think I'm here till February or March next year or something like that. So other than that, would someone like to move adoption of the minutes?
I will.
Kate, second?
Yeah.
Tony? All right. I don't think we have to vote on adopting minutes, do we? All right, thank you.
Do, but we never do.
It always says it was passed unanimously, and I don't remember having a vote.
Yeah.
Well, we can have a vote.
Thumbs up.
Well, it did happen.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to do this.
So weird.
If there's a more button, and if you use your phone, there's a more button in the lower right-hand corner. If you click on that, it has some symbols, I think.
Or kind of computer reactions, it's like on my